Hello and welcome! It is Vintage Super League playoff time. I'm Randy Bueller. I'm joined by Andreas Peterson. How are things going?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. I'm always looking forward to these Tuesday, and especially since this could be the last time I'm playing on this season, so I'm definitely gonna enjoy it, every minute of it.
Fair enough. You are indeed one of our four quarterfinalists. So if you've been watching us all season, we said that the playoff format was 4-2 gets you into the playoffs, 5-1 gets you a bye to the semifinals, 6-0 gets you a bye to the finals, and we'd figure the rest out once we saw how many players wound up at each record. Well, we wound up, nobody got to 6-0. We have three players on 5-1, so they are three of our four semifinalists. That means there's just one spot left to hand out tonight. There's four players who put up a 4-2. Those are our quarterfinalists, and we're just going to play double elim. We rolled up the first round of pairings. Everybody brought one deck. Double elimination with four players works out to be 6 or 7 matches, depending on whether the winner's bracket guy finishes off the sweep. So that's our show tonight. Double elim, 4 great players, 4 very powerful decks. Now, Mr. Peterson, you've been doing the predictions all season on Twitter. You've been, every time the deck lists come out, you've been making the predictions. You're a little biased tonight, but tell me, how do you think it plays out tonight?
I usually don't do the predictions when I'm involved myself, but I can do it this time. So
All right.
I was very unhappy about my pairing for the first round because I think my deck is horrible against the quad goif setup of the Brassman's decks. But I think just the overall power level of the Paradoxical Outcome deck combined with Cyrus's wizard abilities, I think that'll get the job done for him. Unfortunately for me, but yeah, that's my prediction. I think he'll make it through.
Cyrus makes it through. So I guess you've got yourself losing. You've got Cyrus beating Shops. I mean, PO versus Shops. This is a pretty classic battle we'll have up in the first match, right? Cyrus on the Paradoxical Outcome Storm deck. But it is Montolio on the other side, right? It's Andy Marketon, who is as good with a Shops deck in his hands as anybody on the planet. Yep. And he knew Cyrus was going to run Storm. He's got Leyline of Sanctity in his sideboard, in addition to all 4 Null Rods.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's always the little cat and mouse game before the show, whether people are showing up with whatever they're expected to or not. You try the next level. You make some Twitter updates. I mean, me myself, I will always play another deck on the challenges on the weekend, and then I somehow always top 8s before my show. So people might think I'm on the same deck, but I'm always on a different deck. So that's kind of cool.
But so for this one, rule out whatever you top 8 the challenge with. I see.
Yeah, but for this one, it was pretty predictable that Andy. I think he also top 8'd this Saturday, and he's been doing well with Shops.
He was not remotely surprised. Yeah, I mean, he's capable of playing other decks. He threw Dredge at us once. I didn't have him on, 95% to play Shops, but definitely a good 70-80% to play Shops.
Yeah, it was the same for me. But he threw a little spice in there, as you said, with the ley lines. It's just a direct counter to the Paradoxical Outcomes answer to the Shops deck, which is quad Hercules Recall.
Yes.
So if you have a great opening 7 or just a good one with a ley line, and you get to land like Null Rod and a Sphere, the game could be just over thanks to the ley line, because it's pretty clunky that you have to repeal that one first and then Hercules Recall. You might not get that much time against him.
It not only stops the Hercules Recall, it also stops the Tendrils of Agony, right? You can't even go off with the quick kill at the beginning of the game before they get a resistor down. I mean, Leyline of Sanctity is bad news for a Storm player. And it's funny, Cyrus wound up with Paradoxical Outcome Storm. I think he could almost just as easily have wound up on a Dark Ritual-based Storm deck. Between I think we all knew he was going to have Tendrils of Agony in his deck. I think he had to be 90-95% to have either Dark Rituals or Paradoxical Outcomes fueling a Tendril skill.
Yeah, but then my point about the cat and mouse game is that because we can all draw that conclusion, then he could be likely to switch it up in order to dodge targeted plans against him. But yeah, I guess the fact that I top 8'd with Shops and Andy was very likely to run Shops, he just figured, I mean, combined with his ability to play Paradoxical Outcome and just combo decks in general, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that he ended up doing that.
Yeah, and that matchup has come full circle from a couple of years ago. It used to be that Shops' ability to play Thorn of Amethyst and Sphere of Resistance, that was one of the predators that would prey upon paradoxical outcome decks. But nowadays, 4 Hurkyl's Recall, a couple of basic islands. The edge in that matchup has actually swung all the way over to the combo player. The Shops deck is just kind of an aggro beatdown deck. And Leyline of Sanctity, though, could definitely 4 copies of Leyline of Sanctity on top of the full Marauders.
Yeah,
I don't know if
cool.
Cyrus is actually favored in this matchup, given how much Andy has tilted his list.
It's definitely a lot closer to 50-50 than what you're talking about back in the day, where people didn't give, they didn't want to waste sideboard slots on basic lands. That was a huge innovation, in my opinion. And running the full amount of Hurkyl's Recall, I think the industry standard these days is even running 2 in the main deck. So just people are just giving the Shops deck a lot of respect, and that shows on the percentages. But the Leyline will be key, and I hope Cyrus gets a run for his money in this matchup. The Leylines are definitely, they're exciting.
I also find it interesting that the way tonight shaped up, it's kind of 2 guys playing their signature deck, and then the other 2 of you are kind of playing fair decks.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think I really have a signature deck. I know people always talk about me and Paradoxical Outcome, but to be honest, I haven't sleeved up Paradoxical Outcome in like a year. Yeah. I guess I'm just trying to, be well-rounded to be unpredictable in this tournament. And I didn't know much about Brassman. This jump deck looks just super exciting. It looks like a pretty good slayer of fair decks. I was a bit surprised he didn't put blue mana in his deck. I mean, 4 Badlands. I can't imagine that you need to run that. I mean, just you have the Deathrite Shaman. You could run like a few blue duels and run some power cards or whatever. But the deck is definitely exciting.
I'm interested to see, and it is a fair deck, but without Force of Wills. Right, he's got some mental missteps, but he does not actually have Force of Will. He's basically got Thoughtseize, where you might think a deck like that would have Force of Will. You've got also Deathrite Shamans. I mean, both of you are Deathrite Shaman decks at some level. Talk to me about your deck. Where did the inspiration for that come from? What's the theory behind it?
Yeah, I figured I wanted to play a fair deck, like Xerox type deck, because I feel like that's the deck with the most even matchups. So I get the feeling that I actually, have some influence in the results. So I just like playing that kind of deck. Okay. And I just figured if I'm playing Deathrite Shaman, then I think I can support all 5 colors to just get the best haymakers of all colors. So I have white for Lavinia, I have red for Dak and Pyroblast, then black and green is Abrupt Decay and Leovold. And I figured Deathrite Shaman would be a great mana accelerant against Andy for sure. So I don't really like it in the combo matchups. Where
you can't use Andy anymore. Even you, when you say Andy, are referring to 2 different people. You got 3 Andys tonight, and a Cyrus.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible. We should just say Brassman and Montolio or something.
That's my plan.
Yeah, so
learn your vintage nicknames, Brassman and Montolio.
Yeah, so against Montolio, I knew Deathrite Shaman would be okay. He would most likely be on a mana down out of strategy. But I was a bit afraid he would bring Eldrazi, actually. This deck is very soft to, big dumb creatures like Tarmogoyf I talked about. It's bad against Reality Smasher, it's bad against Survival. So I just hoped that I would face off against Dredge, Xerox, and PO, stuff like that, normal decks.
Brassman had some other ideas, but that's queued up for our second match. For now, let's go get down to the classic battle between Paradoxical Outcome and Mishra's Workshop.